Chapter 5 continually. Michael asked me to go to the movies and McDonald's with him and his kids on Sunday afternoon. I was blindsided by the invite because he was always so guarded about them. Plus, his kids were spending the weekend with him. I'd assumed he desired some alone time with them. I accepted the invite. It definitely marked the leveling up of our 3-month relationship and meant he trusted me to be around his heart and soul, his children, finally. The LA sky was crystal blue for a change, and it was warm as the afternoon descended over the city when Michael picked me up. The jazz streaming from a radio station was popping as I climbed into the Lexus SUV, carrying a denim jacket and a leather-strapped purse, and wearing a peach-colored t-shirt, jeans, canvas shoes, and contact lenses. I had my hair down. The 3 mini Michaels wearing t-shirts and jeans eyed me curiously when their father introduced me as his girlfriend. I greeted the kids, and they responded with soft hellos. Michael's announcement caught me off guard. I couldn't stop blushing and smiling. I got the impression he was going to propose to me real soon, and I pondered if I, Zora Brown, was ready to become a stepmom to 3 energetic boys as Michael backed the SUV out the driveway. 5 minutes into the science fiction movie, I glimpsed over at Michael's 6-year-old and 2 preteen sons, wolfing down a large tub of popcorn the boys were sharing and gulping their colas. I couldn't imagine where they would stuff their McDonald's meals. Seconds later, shrieks from the audience echoed throughout the theater as the main character faced a monstrous-looking alien. At the same time, I had a vision of a gray-eyed, dark chocolate-complexioned woman whose eyes were surrounded by crimson. She was putting an album on an old record player while sporting black Marcel waves, a red dress with a sweetheart neckline, and diamond rings on every finger. Jane was in the room with her. A windowless vintage parlor with heavy clawfoot furnishings, chandelier table lamps, crystal vases, and crystal figurines. She was seated on a tufted yellow velvet high-wing chair, dressed in a fur coat, white t-shirt, and denim Bermuda pants. Jane's face was hidden in her hands. She was crying, and her shoulders were heaving up and down. Oh my God. Jane has been transported to another world and a different timeline. I believe it's the 1940s. I warned her about the Blue Shore Tower. Why didn't she listen to me?
After the wardrobe consultation with the wife of a banker residing in Echo Park, Charlotte decided to chow down at a popular cafe in Silver Lake. She hadn't set foot in the area since the gentrification invasion swept through, and missed the poetry readings held amid avant-garde paintings and thought-provoking sculptures in the small galleries, along with adventures in the vintage shops. A warm LA Sunday afternoon to die for convinced her to dine outdoors. She called her mother again but was unable to reach her, so Charlotte left a voicemail message and thought about her mother and Trevor. Mom put on a brave front, but she didn't fool me when Trevor left the party. I should have given him a piece of my mind right then and there for stringing her along. If I ever get a chance to be alone with him, I'm going to let it rip.
She glanced over her notes from the consultation and began drawing ideas out on a sketch pad for an evening gown the client required for a trip abroad. However, the arrival of 3 black female diners who sat at a nearby table distracted her. Their boisterous laughter scattered her thoughts and disrupted the mellow vibe she was enjoying. Charlotte dared not look in the women's direction. They were channeling the spirits of the 3 sisters, Sapphire, Beulah, and Caudonia, the women whom bluesmen sung about, and the ones from which myths and legends abounded, for fear of upsetting them. But she could clearly hear one of them say, "Girlfriend must think she's cute in that pale blue pantsuit and white sandals with her hair in a ponytail and wearing those silver hoop earrings." The young lady's companions busted out laughing. "Agathos." Charlotte pressed her lips tightly together. "Why is she dissing me? Why do we gang up on each other and treat each other like trash?" she asked herself, resuming the sketch of the evening gown, flipping through the pages of fashion books and fashion magazines stored in her memory bank for ideas as she waited for her order, ignoring the agathis. Meow, meow. Mia licked Marie's leg. Why was I kidnapped? Jane stared angrily at Marie, who in turn looked down at her red dress to avoid Jane's burning dark brown eyes. "I've had enough of this paranormal tomfoolery," Jane stated through hot tears. "Lady, Are you real? A ghost? A hologram? Or a robot? I don't know what a hologram or robot is, but I'm real. Marie started fiddling with the top on her sweetheart neckline dress. You'll get used to this place and Edith coming and going. I don't want to get used to this place. I want to go home. Jane wiped the tears off her face with a hand, aware crying wasn't going to fix her problem, but it had at least partially relieved her frustration. How did you end up here? All I remember is the week after Edith passed. I was cleaning her, sweet. Mia had run off. The next thing I knowed, I seen her. She wasn't a ghost. She was human, solid as a fried pork chop through and through, and her green eyes were wild like a jungle animals. I couldn't understand why she was alive, 'cause I seen her people weeping at her funeral and the casket was closed. Edith came back to life? How? My black ass would have been out of that suite like a jet. On the other hand, Marie could be lying. Edith was possessed by something and grabbed me. I tried to fight her off, but the woman had the strength of 3 men. She pinned me down and stole my strength. I blacked out, and when I woke, I was inside this suite. It was like Edith's at De Barcor Hotel in Santa Monica. That she-demon stole my strength again, and I black out. When I came to, Edith told me that my new clothes and stuff was in the living room closet. I watched Han disappear and Mia showed up. Marie was abducted too, and so were those women whose hotel uniforms are in those brown bags. I shouted for help, but no one came, and there wasn't any windows behind the curtains to climb out of. There was nothing but bricks. I opened the gold door, and gray stuff blocked the doorway, and it smelled bad like an outhouse. I was tough afraid to see if I could run through it. So, I stayed high, and I never seen my husband and churn again. What a travesty. Jane leaned forward and asked, how does Edith steal your strength? Marie began to rock back and forth. She put her hand behind the back of my neck and pulled it out from Thar. That woman will never get the opportunity to do that to me. I'll go toe-to-toe with her. Jane shook her head in disgust as she watched Marie rock back and forth on the red and gold striped divan. Marie claimed Edith died and was resurrected. That really sounds far-fetched. I suppose it could happen in this kind of place. Wasn't I kidnapped from my loft, Jane thought. Marie, when did Edith die? Jane crossed her leg over the other one, in 1947. What did she die from? Jane watched Marie's lips, quite anxious to find out. It was hush-hush, Marie replied. Edith's cause of death must have been scandalous. Why else was the casket kept closed, Jane concluded. And then she asked, what happened to her husband? Clarence Henry passed before her, and he was cremated. Marie continued rocking back and forth. He got De Bulchar Hotel from his pappy. But there's one more thing that's puzzling me, Jane reflected, and she asked Marie, who are those women in the dressing room? I ain't gonna talk about them. Marie's jaws tightened as she rocked back and forth. Marie and those women haven't aged at all. Everybody still has wrinkle-free and smooth skin. I suspect Marie is in her 30s, and the women in the dressing room are in their 20s. So, on top of the hot mess spewing in this joint, these folks may be immortal too? The human dolls disengaged from their poses and left their stations. A couple of them selected evening gowns from the racks to change into, and the rest either freshened their makeup or relaxed in the lounge area. That colored girl must have opened the door with the glass doorknob. A blonde wearing a white silk halter evening dress chuckled. Everyone tried to get that door open and gave up. Now we know what's in there, the redhead replied. I won't be going in there. That glimmering light pouring through the ceiling is spooky. Do you think that colored girl will make it out of here? The blonde asked. No. The redhead shook her head. The others didn't.